What's going on, everyone? So Jared Vanderbilt, he is one of the fan favorites for the Los Angeles Lakers, and it's completely understandable. I mean, he is one of, if not the best on-ball defenders in the league. His versatility, how much ground he covers, is what is incredibly special about Jared Vanderbilt. Like, I love watching Jared Vanderbilt play. He leaves it all on the floor, gives you 110% every single game. If he's in there, you can count on him. He's doing the dirty work. He's chasing down loose balls. He's creating turnovers. Like, the guy is just A1 in that department. Is he without his flaws? Of course, right? Like, he has, liabilities on the offensive side. The Lakers did last season under Darvin Ham were able to kind of find little pockets in which he was able to be effective offensively, which I do believe with JJ Redick, Jared Vanderbilt will be able to be better offensively. Hopefully he's continued to work and progress on his three-point shooting. So that way, again, just be consistent. I don't need him to necessarily be a 40% three-point shooter. If that happens, watch out, because he's probably the best 3-and-D guy in the league at that point. But can you just be serviceable from three-point range? Can you just be consistent enough to where teams have to go and challenge it rather than just like leaving you open and living with it? That would be nice. But nonetheless, like Jared Vanderbilt, the idea is that he will be a big part of this franchise. It's why the Lakers wanted him so bad in the Utah Jazz trade. It's one of the reasons why the Lakers waited out on the Utah Jazz trade. Because you got to remember that summer, before we eventually did do the trade, we could have gotten the trade. They just didn't want to include Jared Vanderbilt. Fast forward to the trade deadline, we were able to get Jared Vanderbilt. And JJ Redick recently spoke on kind of how Jared Vanderbilt is going to be a key component on this roster, and talked about his impact and talked about how, when he's healthy, which is the key, when he's healthy, he's a guy that, can X, Y, and Z. Right? Now, here's the thing, though. The Lakers are shopping Jared Vanderbilt. The Lakers are looking to trade Jared Vanderbilt, which a lot of people aren't very happy with. And there are these pros and cons of trading Jared Vanderbilt, right? Now, obviously, it depends on what you get. So right now, based on reports, the Blazers want, basically the farm for Jeremy Grant. They want 2 firsts. They want Jared Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura. Seems to be what the consensus is, again, based on the reports. So that, it's like, okay, you're not giving up Jared Vanderbilt and Rui and 2 firsts, but Jeremy Grant is essentially Jared Vanderbilt and Rui Hachimura combined. He's not the elite level defender that Jared Vanderbilt is. Again, there's very few guys like Vando in the league as far as like the defensive side of things go, but he is, when he's locked in and engaged, a very good defensive player. And he is a guy that can go get you 20 plus games, shoot 40% from 3. If you can get a guy in a Jeremy Grant, right? Okay, you can kind of stomach the loss of Jared Vanderbilt, right? The big concern is the health factor, right? So, like, you look at last year with the Lakers. He only played 29 games. That's not great. But was that just kind of like a bad year? The Lakers dealt with injuries all season last year. And, Jared Vanderbilt basically missing that year, it hurt. But if you look at the previous years, right? Like, so Jared Vanderbilt last year between Utah and the Lakers played, 78 games, right? And then you look at the years with Minnesota, he played 74 and 64. So as long as he's playing around 70 games, like that makes sense. But Jared Vanderbilt is age 25, right? And so how much, unless he starts making some real strides, right? Particularly on the three-point shooting, particularly on the offensive side, then chances are he's probably never going to be more than just a one-dimensional player, which is on the defense side. Again, one of the best in that category. It's why he's in the league, right? Because he's 6'8", with incredible versatility, and again, covers so much ground. But if you could get a guy like a Jeremy Grant, if you could get a guy like a Cam Johnson, does that maybe make a little more sense for the Lakers, especially Jeremy Grant? He's, 5 years older than Jared Vanderbilt, but guy like a Cam Johnson's 2 or 3 years? I think he's 3 years older than Jared Vanderbilt, and that's a guy that gives you legit two-way, can knock down the three ball, as well as play defense and defend multiple positions. So there is this argument of like, if you can get the right 3-and-D guy, then you can stomach losing Jared Vanderbilt. I would still like to keep Jared Vanderbilt. Like, I would love to get Cam Johnson and then I have Jared Vanderbilt off the bench for those defensive assignments, because Jared Vanderbilt, again, I mean, there's going to be moments and stretches where you need to get stops. And there's very few guys that can generate that like Jared Vanderbilt. So to me, like, if you can get, say, a Cam Johnson, right, and then have Jared Vanderbilt paired alongside, and then even at times you can run both on the court, because either guy could slot in at the 4 because their size, both are 6'8". So to me, it's like you could slide Cam Johnson to the 4 or Vando to the 4, just for position's sake. And then now you have both of those guys, just trolling the perimeter and locking down and defending. Now you're probably a very good defensive team at that point, right? Like, and then you add in Anthony Davis. So I don't want the Lakers to trade Jared Vanderbilt. I want to be very clear, but we know that the Lakers are shopping him. I mean, there have been several reports that have talked about the Lakers shopping Jared Vanderbilt, and his name keeps popping up in various trades because, if you're one of these teams, why wouldn't you want Jared Vanderbilt, right? Like, if you're Portland, yeah, you want Jared Vanderbilt. You got plenty of offensive pieces. You need those defensive stoppers, right? So you could really use a guy like Jared Vanderbilt, and he's not. Even though, I talked about how he's 25, and unless he starts taking some real strides, he's probably never going to be a legit two-way guy, but he's still 25. There still is room for growth. There is still room for upside. There is still room for further potential. It's just, again, he's got to, like, in 2 years, if he hasn't really developed an offensive game, you're essentially in your prime at that point, right? So, to me, I don't believe Jared Vanderbilt's untouchable. I do, however, wonder, can he get healthy and right? I mean, we've seen that first season kind of be the beginning of the injury-riddledness, right? Like, is that what this is for the Lakers? Is that a concern that the Lakers have? Is that one of the reasons why the Lakers are maybe shopping Jared Vanderbilt? But you could also argue Jared Vanderbilt's value is probably lower right now than it would have been otherwise. Right? Like, if you were ever going to trade Jared Vanderbilt, it was probably last offseason when he looked absolutely ferocious alongside the Lakers, and just immediately adding him to Anthony Davis made the Lakers the best defensive team in the league, right? Like, that is when you probably should have traded him. Right now, playing 29 games, not having an impact, and having all these injury concerns, and JJ Redick up there talking about, like, well, when he's healthy, right, which, again, like, might just be a general statement, but it also could be that he's not healthy yet, and he hasn't been able to work out, he hasn't been able to improve the game the way that we want him to, or we need him to, right? Like, that's the problem, is that there is this sense of mystery with Jared Vanderbilt. Again, if you can get the right piece, like, if you can get, say, Jeremy Grant and Cam Johnson, then at that point you're good. Like, go ahead, trade Jared Vanderbilt, right? But even if you got, like, say, a Jeremy Vanderbilt or a Jeremy Vanderbilt, there you go, a Jeremy Grant or a Cam Johnson, right? Like, if you got only one, then I kind of want to keep Jared Vanderbilt. Because, again, like, it'd be nice to have that guy off the bench that, yeah, he's an offensive liability, but he's that defensive stopper that he's your assignment guy, right? He's just there to basically, hey, we're giving you 15 minutes a game, and your only job is to just stop him, right? I don't care about anything else. You just go in there, you're going to play your 15 minutes, and your literally only focus is to make sure that guy doesn't score, right? Like, and I just think that if you kind of, like, he could kind of be your almost nuke that you're sending out there, and you're targeting, like, the specific player, going like, hey, that's the guy, right? He could be your torpedo that you're throwing out there. So again, if the right piece, again, I don't think Jared Vanderbilt's untradeable, right? I don't think he's so good that, it's like, man, like, there's no way you can move him. I do think, however, it would be hard pressed to move him. And if it's not the right piece or two that you're moving him in, you might look back and go, man, we shouldn't have gotten rid of Jared Vanderbilt. Like, that was a mistake, right? Because if you get two or three legit two-way players, well, then fine. At that point, it's like Jared Vanderbilt might not even see the floor. And if he does, it's probably in just limited minutes. Because, again, as elite as he is defensively, if you have a guy that's, like, let's say not elite, but just very good defensively, but can shoot 40% from three and give you 15 a game, right? You'd rather have that than a guy that is basically going to give you nothing offensively, but he can lock down the opposing defender. Like, guys are still going to score. Like, you still need that balance, right? Like, yeah, Jared Vanderbilt, even if he completely locks up the opposing team, right? Well, then they'll just make the adjustment, get him off on switches or, whatever. And then now you got that. Now all you're doing is being handicapped because you can't utilize him in any way on the offensive side. So again, there's just depends on how you want to look at it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Lakers should trade Jared Vanderbilt, but it depends on the piece? Do you think, no, absolutely not, you don't trade Jared Vanderbilt no matter what? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.